Dear colleagues, welcome to the 2022 Ifla General Assembly. I would like to welcome all of those who are attending physically or virtually via our meeting platform and those who are observing via Ifla's YouTube channel. After 2 years of virtual General Assemblies, it is great that we can meet in a hybrid version, a format which was chosen by the governing board to allow the greatest number of members to take part. Given also the shorter time frame for the VLIC in Dublin and expected lower attendance there, this timing, format and meeting platform offers the best way of achieving this. The meeting platform allows voting members to hear the motions, listen to discussions, ask questions, and then vote in real time when asked to do so. I asked our members to ensure you have used your voting credentials to log in to the meeting platform to follow the meeting. When you are asked to vote, your voting options will be shown on your device. With me on stage for this meeting are Helen Mandel, Ifla's Deputy Secretary General. Unfortunately, Harlo Locher, the delegate of the governing board, who should have been speaking here as well, is ill and cannot be with us today. Kirsten Bult, as the interim treasurer, she will speak to the annual accounts. The new Ifla treasurer, Jaap Naber, is unable to be here today. Kirsten took the responsibility as interim treasurer while the extraordinary election of the treasurer took place. Martin von Ansem, Ifla's notary, who will advise on procedural matters during the meetings. Thank you. And Stephen Weiber, Ifla's Director of Policy and Advocacy, who will be assisting with questions and comments submitted online. You maybe have expected to see the President-elect Vicky MacDonald here with us today. Unfortunately, due to her work commitments, she has been unable to travel to The Hague. I received no apologies for the meeting. Are there any other apologies to be recorded? Seeing none, I come to item number 2 of our agenda, appointment of Telus. I ask the Deputy Secretary General to inform the meeting about the appointment of Telus.
Madam President, the statutes and rules set out the requirements for voting. This year, the details of registered voting members, their proxies and their weighted votes have been provided to the meeting platform company Lumi, who've been engaged to assist with this meeting. They have provided unique login and voting credentials to those members who have registered for the meeting. All voting will take place in a secure and accurate manner. At the close of voting, results will be automatically calculated and provided to the meeting. Therefore, this year, as there's no manual count, there is no requirement to appoint tellers.
Thank you. So now let's move to item number 3, the establishment of a quorum. Helen, please.
At the beginning of the meeting, there were 133 national and international association members who have paid their fees for 2022 and are not in arrears. For a quorum, we need 50% of this number, plus 1, namely 67. So I'm happy to say that at this time, 76 national and international association members have registered.
We have a quorum. Thank you, members. A quorum has been established. Business will be transacted and implemented on the basis of the majority of votes in favor. I now move to item number 4, the adoption of the agenda. Helen?
Madam Chair, the agenda for the General Assembly meeting was sent to all members in good standing in July, as required by the statutes. The business of the meeting shall normally be limited to those items appearing on the agenda issued with the convening notice for the meeting. Only items of an exceptional and urgent character may be added at the discretion of the President and with the consent of the majority of the members present or represented, and such resolutions have not been received for this meeting.
I now call for a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the agenda.
Can I have a question first before we move?
Yes, you can.
Do we need to take the mic?
Yes.
There is, yeah, well, of course, because the others cannot hear you, Ingrid.
Okay, Ingrid Bon from Rijnbrink in the Netherlands. I was wondering if it was possible to put as a standard item on the agenda just simply questions by the members. And not only voting members, but also personal affiliates. And I know that after every item on the agenda, we can ask questions, but that's the question regarded to the item on the agenda. And I can imagine that there are things that come up and that you would like to ask to the governing board or whoever is on stage, not to have immediately a big discussion, but just to make an inventory of questions living amongst the members. And it would be great if that could be a standard issue on the standard agenda.
You
That's
mean
all.
a standard agenda for any other General Assembly?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can think about that right now. I have to say that we planned, of course, enough time for every item to have questions where questions should be given, of course. And perhaps we can then use the time which might be at the end of the meeting to do this. I think we should talk in the governing board about this item. And if the governing board presents the next agenda, then we will think about it. Is that okay for you?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I was asking for a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda. Ingrid is moving. Thank you very much. And who is? I can't really see you because it's so light here. And second, oh, thank you very much.
Cool.
Kurt, you are there. We are noted. So the motion as presented is moved by Ingrid and seconded by Kurt.
Kun.
Sorry. And I will now ask if the meeting adopts the agenda. This is the first time you have to vote, so I explain it again, but I will explain it all the time. We will do this via a formal vote. And please stay everyone with us while the vote takes place. Voting members, please make your votes now. The motion will now appear on your device, and we give you some time for the voting. And Stephen will have a look whether there is enough votes coming in.
They're coming in already.
They're coming in already, that's good. So that's a premiere. Voting closing?
No.
Nope, not yet. Stephen, you give me a sign, don't you?
I will give you a sign.
Okay.
I will give you a sign. I'm waiting for a sign myself.
Okay.
Okay, I think we can close.
Okay, voting is now closed. The result in numbers shall be shown here. There's 829 votes, and with a percentage of 98.81 percentage, this agenda is accepted. So the agenda is adopted. And then let's move to item number 5. Before I move to item number 5, there was a question from one of the members. which I would like to, because it's more or less for the welcoming and opening. How many members are present? It's 130 members online and 6 members in person. So now let's go to item number 5. That's the minutes of the previous meeting, which was held in The Hague as a hybrid meeting on the 25th of August 2021, just a year ago from here. So, Helen, please.
The draft minutes, which have been distributed to all delegates in the General Assembly papers and at this meeting, have been also placed on the website with the convening notice.
Are there any corrections to the minutes? Any corrections, Stephen, coming in? If not, okay. Then I call for a mover and a seconder that the minutes of the General Assembly held in The Hague on the 25th of August 2021 be approved. A mover and a seconder, please. Kirsten moves it, and who seconds it? Ingrid. Thank you very much. The motion as presented is moved by Kirsten Böld and Ingrid Bonn, and seconded by Ingrid Bonn. Now we will have the same process. We will approve the minutes via a formal vote. Please stay with us while the vote takes place. And voting members, please make your vote now. The motion will appear on your device. I can cancel it if I... Oh, hello, class. Take a seat, as much in front as possible.
So they can't get
The firewall.
they can't get the vote at all.
No, they can't watch and they can't vote. They can't see the broadcast. I'm giving you a YouTube link. It's the best we can do.
Yeah.
I'll ask Lydia to keep a look and then, yeah. I think this can't vote because of the technology. I'll get Kristen to ask the Lumi people if there's a possibility.
Yes, the voting is closed now. The results you can see in favor 830 votes, that's 81%, 10 against and 43 abstentions. The minutes of the General Assembly held in a hybrid format on 25th August 2021 are approved. Now let's come to item number 6, in memoriam of those members who have died during the past year. At this point, we remember colleagues who have passed away since 2021. Anne-Margaret Hauknes, Norway. Angela Maria Monteiro Betancourt, Brazil. Margaret Austray Carlo, Vanuatu. Rocky Ralepibi Simila, South Africa. Paul George Zukowski, United States of America. Donna Schieder, United States of America. Sabine Weber-Berndt, New Zealand. And Susan Schepman, Netherlands. In particular, I and many others across the world were deeply saddened to hear of the passing of Donna Sheeder, Ifla President 2015-2017, earlier this year. It is hard to think of anyone who had a warmer, more positive impact on so many people across the library field than Donna. Her presidential theme, a call to action, was in fact more than a theme. It was something she lived. Everywhere she went, everywhere she served, including as a member of Ifla sections, a governing board member, and ultimately as Ifla president, she shared her intelligence, her energy, her commitment to ensuring that libraries and library and information professionals were recognized and supported in order to fulfill their potential to make a difference. From library meeting rooms and conferences to the United Nations, she was a consistent and powerful voice for our profession, for our federation. She had an immense loyalty to and belief in what Ifla stands for and could be, and played a crucial role in securing our future. A crucial positive legacy to the field. She will be sorely missed. I request that you rise for a moment of silence as we remember all colleagues who have died during the past year and recall with gratitude the contributions they have made to the library and information services profession. Please sit. Thank you. Now, let's come to the part of the General Assembly when we report about our achievements and activities in 2021. I would like to start this part with a report about presidential activities, including my own and those of Christine McKenzie. However, in reality, it is not a report by the President only, it is a report about you. Because the role of Ifla President is to support and represent the field. Indeed, it only makes sense when this is the case. Ifla is an extraordinary organization in the breadth of areas covered by our expertise, the variety of library institutions and services, and the range of countries in which we have members. My role is to amplify the impact of the Federation and thereby the work that each of you is doing. In my work on the governing board, my engagement with our members and volunteers, my support for the work of Ifla headquarters, my focus is on you, on how we can build a sustainable future for our federation, for our field, for our communities. This was the theme I chose. Therefore, for my presidency, it was this theme, library, building a sustainable future. What steps can we take today that give us the best possible chances for the future? How can we build our resilience in the face of uncertainty, ensure that we are a learning, innovative profession, safeguard flexibility while preserving what matters, and support and enable our future leaders? This is a collective challenge that needs joint efforts. I am playing my part through convening, through providing a link to the global field, through sharing good practices and ideas, through providing a focal point. All this is important, but what matters most is how this is leading to positive change, to new energy, to new approaches, to a new sense of belonging to a worldwide community of values and practice. And for this, we need to work together, as my predecessor Christine McKenzie so clearly underlined in her presidential theme. In short, Ifla is to work for you, Ifla needs to work with you, and you need to work with Ifla. Of course, it is a privilege, a great responsibility, and a challenge at the same time to be Ifla president, to be your president. I see that you, like me, believe in libraries, in librarians as accelerators of development, as agents for positive change, as defenders of rights and inclusion. It is an amazing thing as president to be able to participate in so many activities and events where you see the field at work. It is so exciting and supportive for me to see your spirit, your energy, a positive, constructive spirit focused on realizing the potential of libraries in a changing world. For that, I therefore want to thank you, our members, our affiliates, our volunteers, who have provided so many great moments to do this on every continent. Even in the most cases, engagement had to be virtual. It was an honor for me in less than a year to contribute to the success of national and international conferences in Romania, Sri Lanka, New Zealand, India, Mexico, Brazil, Japan, Iran, France, Malaysia, and Ireland. I have also been able to engage in the fantastic set of online leaders' conversations organized by our regional office for Asia-Oceania. Most of my activities in 2021 were in an online format. However, I want to add as a window to 2022 that I finally had the opportunity to travel and visit colleagues in Turkey, Qatar, the USA, Austria, Italy, Switzerland, Latvia, Greece, and in other European countries. My intention always was to promote Ifla's work, Ifla's values, and Ifla's activities. Of course, to showcase the activities of our fantastic professional and regional units, as well as the work of our advisory groups. My predecessor, Christine McKenzie, was not less active last month as president. During online events at Bangladesh, Kenya, the Philippines, Japan, India, Serbia, Greece and Denmark, Iran and Sri Lanka, bringing inspiration and encouragement to members and colleagues. In each case, I hope Christine and I have been able to make your events, your work, more successful and more provoking. In addition to the work of Ifla President within the field, there's also an essential role in engaging with others in the external face of our organization, of our profession. If we are to uphold the crucial principle of being accessible for all without exclusionary financial barriers, we need the support of funders, public and private alike. To be effective, we also need the right legal and policy environment. In turn, this depends on advocacy at all levels, wherever the decisions that matter are being made. To give a few examples, I've therefore been honored to speak on a high-level panel at the Global Media and Information Literacy Work, as well as to intervene at the Seoul Copyright Forum, while my predecessor broke important new ground by being the first Ifla representative to speak at a G20 cultural ministerial webinar. Through these, Christine and I have worked to ensure that the people taking those key decisions have a better understanding of what libraries are, why they matter, and why they need the support from politicians, foundations, and other stakeholders and partners. Beyond advocacy on behalf of the library field, we benefit from the fact that we are not alone in these goals, in the goals that we pursue, and in the values that we hold. Here too, there is a key role for the Ifla President in encouraging and supporting cooperation and partnerships, engaging with sister organizations at the global level to build understanding and set an example for cooperation at all levels. I was there very happy to keynote the Baltic Libraries and Museums Conference in September, while my predecessor took lead in events focused on working with publishers in Malaysia and with archives in Vietnam. Again, I hope that Christine's and my engagement here serves you and strengthens possibilities for you to form partnerships that help you deliver on your goals. I have already underlined a few times, but it certainly bears repeating that none of this would have been possible without you, our members, our volunteers, our affiliates, as well as without our headquarters staff. As I said earlier, I can only work for you by working with you. So I wanted to offer some thanks for all the people who have been ready to work with me to make Ifla what it is. First, you, our members, because Ifla is a membership organization. Its strength, its legitimacy comes from the member organizations and affiliates who contribute not just through their fees, but through their engagement, their dissemination of Ifla work. Second, the nearly 1,000 people who work through our councils, our professional sections, special interest groups, advisory committees, review groups, regional division committees, and more, in order to make Ifla live, really live, because that's what you do. I was so happy that we were able in Dublin to thank our officers for 2019-2021, as well as giving a first opportunity for many of our 2021-2023 volunteer teams to meet. Next, my committed colleagues on the governing board. In fact, for 2021, our two governing boards, 2019-2021 and 2021-2023, who put so much time, effort, and energy into driving our work forwards. Then, of course, our headquarters staff, who are so dedicated to make Ifla function effectively. I can tell you from my position how huge the work that they do is in supporting me, in supporting you as well. I am so grateful to them. Before now handing the floor to Helen, who will be presenting our annual report, I did want to add one final thing, something that I will also talk about later. The cooperation that makes Ifla work, that makes us effective, is a process, not an endpoint. It requires constant and serious attention and effort. But this attention and effort pays off many times in the results you will hear about shortly. Last year, we made a major investment in this collaboration through the agreement and enacted of our governance review. Now structures, new formats, new roles, all designed better to support our members and our volunteers. But, as was said at the time, structures are only part of the picture. We also need processes that ensure trust and transparency, that ensure that all those who come to our federation with goodwill and energy can find their place, can reach their goals. This is work. Yes, it is. But I know from all that I have seen so far in my time as president that it is worthwhile working together. It is worthwhile listening to each other and worthwhile finding common solutions. And also in my next year, I am committed to collaborating for a sustainable future for libraries and a sustainable future for our federation. Thank you. Now, let's come to the part of the General Assembly where we report about our achievements and activities in 2021. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong thing. However, well, now that's the right thing now. Now, presentation of the annual report. Helen. I invite the Deputy Secretary General to report on the operational matters for 2021 and major activities for 2022. Helen, please, sorry.
Thank you so much, Madam President. And thank you for your speech and your incredible engagement over the last year on behalf of Ifla. And I would also like to start by thanking Christine McKenzie, who led us so effectively through such a difficult period during the corona pandemic. It certainly wasn't the easiest time to be president during COVID, and she's left us stronger and probably more aware of our potential than before. So thank you. From all the examples that Barbara has given, you already have a great idea of how vibrant and exciting the library field is, and with Ifla's role in inspiring, engaging, enabling, and connecting. So I want to go further and share with you an overview of what it is that Ifla achieved in 2021. At the heart of our actions is our strategy, agreed by the Governing Board in 2019 and designed to reflect truly the full range of what we're doing collectively. It's this same strategy that provides a structure for our annual report, which I'm pleased to present now. Our strategy has 4 key directions: to strengthen the global voice of libraries, to inspire and enhance professional practice, to connect and enable the field, and to optimize our organization. And success in each of these requires the combined efforts of members, our volunteers, and our headquarters staff. And it requires efforts at all levels, focused on achieving our vision of a strong and united library field, powering literate, informed, and participatory societies. So let's start with Strategic Direction 1 and a stronger voice for libraries. This is Ifla's work around advocacy, where we develop the materials, the skills and actions needed to ensure that libraries and librarians everywhere have the optimal legal, policy, and financial environment to fulfill their missions. To start with the work of our volunteers, we've seen fantastic contributions to the toolkit that's made available for libraries when advocating to decision makers. With our publication on the government information landscape, as another example, an incredible engagement around the Sustainable Development Goals, to name another. We've then taken this work on your behalf to the United Nations, to UNESCO, to WIPO and beyond. We've organised side events and training around the SDGs, both in our own right and also in partnership with like-minded organisations. Key highlights include the 2nd edition of the UNESCO Persist Content Selection Guidelines, Ifla's first ever participation in a meeting of the Conference of the Parties of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, very long name, but you might know it as COP26, which was very important last year, and invitations to shape key overview sessions of the World Summit on the Information Society Forum. With this, Ifla is being noticed, it's being invited, and it's being involved. We've also strengthened our outreach to global organisations of local government, playing an important role in the Culture Summit of your United Cities and Local Government in September. And we're working to ensure that mayors understand why they need to refresh their view of libraries. Finally, we've worked hard to share this knowledge, in particular, developing our offer of training around storytelling for impact, helping libraries show convincingly how essential they are for inclusive and sustainable development. Our next direction is inspiring and enhancing professional practice. This is really such a core part of our work. It's the space and the structure we offer for the most inspired, the most generous, the most energetic of our profession to act at a truly global scale. And it's a part of Ifla that's close to my heart. Once again, 2021 was a year of delivery. The Ifla Namespaces project is now up and running, meaning that Ifla's technical standards and vocabularies, which underpin the information structures so essential to the way that our libraries and catalogues work, are more easily accessible and usable. This is not only for librarians, but also for the greater ICT community. Ifla's new website was launched, providing a much improved platform to highlight the work of our volunteers and professional units, and to also give librarians easier and better access to this work. Closely linked to this, our repository represents a major improvement in how we disseminate all of the reports, the papers, the articles, the posters, and all more than that Ifla produces, and it helps to enhance discoverability. And we've had so much to promote. The Children and Young Adults section launched a highly relevant work around keeping children safe online, while our Environment and Sustainability and Libraries section completed its book on new libraries in old buildings, a really topical and important contribution at a time when the impacts of climate change and the need to conserve are so high on the agenda. Supporting this work, we continued to expand the library map of the world, which, if you didn't know, celebrated its first birthday earlier this week. This has continued to become a richer, deeper, and more comprehensive source of information and inspiration for the field, and I really encourage you to take a look if it's been some time since you last looked. Our third strategic direction is connecting and enabling the field. This is where you find our work to provide not just a meeting place, but also a learning space for colleagues around the world. Of course, at the heart of this is the Congress, and we often have to repeat that Ifla is more than just the Congress, but it's also clear how important the World Library and Information Congress is as a highlight of the year and for our work. So after the sad but necessary decision to cancel our 2020 Congress, the pressure was really on in 2021 to deliver the best possible virtual event. And thanks to the amazing mobilisation and commitment of our volunteers and the professional units and committees, we did just that. They were faced with new formats, both in terms of time and technology, and they rose to the challenge and produced one of the most engaging, exciting events that I was involved in. And if you missed the karaoke, bad for you. It was energising to see so many people attend, around 3,000 in the end, with special efforts made to facilitate access through programming that was organised around 3 time zones, a uniquely low price, and an extensive program of attendance grants. And I would really like to take a moment to thank the many members who contributed to making those attendance grants possible. Our volunteers continued to grow in their innovation and ambition. We saw our Academic and Research Libraries section win the Dynamic Unit and Impact Award for their exceptional series of webinars that were as diverse in their content as they were consistent in their quality. And thanks to the section on education and training, we actually moved up a number of gears in our work to engage library and information science students, while it was emerging leaders from around the world who made the Trend Report 2021 possible. This is also the strategic direction focused on building sustainable library fields at the regional and national level. And our new regional council and regional division committees started their work, opening up an exciting new chapter in how we make Ifla more relevant and more supportive at the regional level. Last but not least, strategic direction 4, to optimise our organisation. This is about how we ensure our sustainability into the future, not just in terms of funding, but also in terms of attracting and retaining members, volunteers and staff, and enabling them to realise their potential. 2021 saw some key milestones. In particular, the approval of our new governance structure at the beginning of the year by an overwhelming majority of members, and it followed an intensive and inclusive process that engaged our members and volunteers alike. As you already heard last year, this was a turning point in making Ifla a more inclusive, transparent and diverse organisation. We have a new regional structure, including a regional council, with the responsibility of bringing the concerns and priorities of members around the world to the heart of Ifla and improving our outreach. We have better support structures now for volunteers in the professional units with a new allocation of divisions. And we have a treasurer directly elected by all members working to support our organisation's long-term financial sustainability. 2021 was also an election year, and despite having shorter deadlines than in any recent year, we had a stronger and richer set of nominations than ever, and so more open elections. And this is a great indication of the engagement of the field in Ifla and the talent available to strengthen it. And as a consequence, in August 2021, a whole new set of volunteers started their mandates within Ifla. With the guidance of the Professional Council, our volunteers took on the challenge, developing impactful and high-quality action plans, all aligned with the Ifla strategy. You're already seeing the fruit of this work in the webinars, publications and events organised by our different groups, and in particular, of course, in the sessions that they organised at VLIC. 2021 was also a year of progress on developing a new set of policies, structure and organisation within Ifla HQ for staff, ensuring that we have the best possible working environment, a process that's still underway, but that is an essential part of making Ifla as effective as it can be. Elsewhere, we continued to work towards the long-term financial sustainability of the organisation, developing projects and delivering projects funded by the European Union, notably on document delivery and media literacy, and working with partners to secure a grant from the Arcadia Fund to boost our capacity to advocate for a 21st century copyright environment in Europe. We're of course grateful to everyone who supports our work, our members and affiliates through their contributions, our volunteers through their time, and our partners and funders through their donations. In particular, we would like to acknowledge the Stichting Ifla Global Libraries, or SIGL, the foundation that not only supports Ifla's projects focused on advocacy and development, but also assists with the operational and additional staffing costs that allow Ifla to do more than it could previously. And we thank them for their ongoing belief in Ifla's work with librarians worldwide to build more informed societies. Much of the work that was started in 2021 is bearing fruit now in 2022. Underlying this point is the fact that what we're doing is always oriented to the future. The impact of the work that goes on within Ifla now only really is felt when it translates into new practices, new approaches, and new attitudes on the ground. As our president has underlined, we're all about building a sustainable future for libraries, giving our profession and the people we serve the best chances of continuing to flourish in the years ahead. The work that took place in 2021 will, I'm confident, continue to resonate well into the future. Madam President, I conclude this report to the meeting and would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Helen. I would like to thank the staff and the volunteers to their efforts that made 2021 a successful year. Are there questions? Seeing none, we can go on to item number 9, the presentation of the annual accounts. And now I invite Kirsten Böll, the present Treasurer's report, to present the Treasurer's report on the annual accounts for 2021. Kirsten, please.
Yes, thank you very much. And dear Ifla members, I had the privilege to present the Treasurer's annual report for the year 2021, as it was accepted by the Governing Board at its July meeting. The financial result of the year 2021 shows a surplus of 392,691 euros. This compared to a surplus of 293,495 euros for 2020. In the result of 2021, an amount of approximately 630,000 euros is included for Dutch governmental or Dutch government special COVID-19 related financial aid. For the financial year 2020, the financial aid amounted to approximately 480,000 euros. And I'm so happy you can see all the figures in the screen. The surplus of 2021 brings our general reserves to 2,223,395 euros. And the earmarked reserves to 71,375 euros. This level of reserves meets the level of reserves required under our reserves policy. This policy requires Ifla to retain sufficient reserves for the purpose of winding up its operations and closing down, should this be necessary. These reserves are an important... Well, I continue. These reserves are an important asset for Ifla to secure our work and sustainability into the future. Now we go to income. The total income for the year 2021 was 1,356,270 euros, compared to 1,189,959 euros in 2020. The increase of 166,311 euros can mainly be explained as follows. In 2020, the yearly BLIC was cancelled due to the worldwide pandemic, and therefore Ifla was not able to charge the conference management fees of 212,000 euros. The total expenditure for the year 2021 was 963,579 euros, compared to 896,464 euros in 2020. The increase of 67,000, yes, 115 euros can be mainly explained as follows. For the first, in 2020, the expenditure included a negative result for subsidiary Ifla holding BV of approximately 159,000 euros due to the cancellation of LIC, of course. Secondly, we have had higher staff expenses of approximately 146,000 euros. And lastly, higher office expenses of approximately 64,000 euros, mainly due to increase of legal costs. Assets. The balance sheet as at December 31st, 2021 shows that Ifla's assets covering Ifla's shares in the Ifla holding BV, of which Ifla is the sole shareholder, receivables and cash at bank and in hand are 6,027,664 euros compared to 5,766,638 euros on December 31st, 2020. After all these figures, I have some general comments on the accounts. Since 2012, Iflas World Library Information Congress has been operating through Ifla Holding BV and its subsidiaries, of which, as I said, Ifla is the sole shareholder. Therefore, the statement from the treasurer for the consolidated company results are included in the annual financial statement of Ifla. Thanks to the funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in 2021, Ifla was able to spend 266,350 euros on key initiatives involving the International Advocacy Program, and furthermore, Ifla works strongly together with Stichting Ifla Global Library, as we also know as SIGL, on projects primarily funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation through its legacy grant and data grants. It remains important for Ifla to explore additional funding and find opportunities for this in the coming years to ensure the ongoing viability. Ifla is very grateful to its members, member organizations and individuals who support us through donation and hosting activities, and to the organizations that support our initiatives and projects through grant funding. And with this, I conclude the annual report of the Treasurer for 2021. And of course, I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kirsten, and thank you very much to those who have worked on this annual report. Good that our members are following, and we have questions to this report.
Yeah.
There is a question from Tipaya. I don't know which member she's representing. Okay, so she asks, can we hear from the governing board members who refused to sign off on the accounts? Kirsten, do you have a response to that?
Yes, I have. I first have to say and stress that there is no need for a unanimous approval of the annual account. And we need a simple majority. And in this case, we have 7 of the 9 members who approved this report. And
one abstention.
Yes. We have 1 abstention and 1 who not approved it. And I can tell you, as if you abstain or if you do not approve, you have to say why you don't do it. And the abstention is because the member did not understand some part of this statement and it should be explained by the former governing board members. Otherwise, I cannot approve it. I cannot say approve it or not. That's why this member abstained. And the member who did not approve it, I will quote, I have been a member of the Ifla Governing Board since August 2019. In 2022, during my current second term of the Ifla Governing Board, it was discovered that key financial information had not been shared with the full previous governing board. Since this revelation and obfuscation and omission of information concerning Ifla finances has still continued, I do not have confidence in the integrity of financial information provided and cannot approve.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. These two statements will be included, of course, into the minutes.
Yes.
Thank you. And there is another question not really related to the financial points, and I think I will read it, but I think it may be touched better on the item number 12, which is the address of the President, and that will be also time enough for bringing that forward. But still, it comes again from Tipaya, representing her association. The question is, where can we find info about the investigations related to the Secretary General or to terminations which has been noted to be significant? And we will keep that for item number 12 because it's not really related to the financial reports. There is another question from Tipaya. Thank you, Tipaya. Are the reserves enough to cover the costs of any financial settlement with the Secretary General that needs to be made for termination? This is a question which will be related, of course, to the court case which we have, and I will report to that as well. So let's talk about that in item number 12 when my address is touching these points, okay? Any other questions? Who is that?
Do you want to read them out? Is it easier?
Yes.
I read them out. Okay, that's probably simpler.
Stephen will read them out now.
Apologise. So there's one question. Will Ifla be 100% liable for any costs relating to the termination of the Secretary General's contract, or will these costs be shared with SIGL?
SIGL is an entity and a foundation on its own. I will refer to that as well. And let's put that as well also to the next point. Ifla is responsible for keeping that's only Ifla is responsible with all aspects which are related to the Secretary General's contract and, of course, to the consequences after the court case.
There's another question. Are the reserves enough to cover the costs of any financial settlement that needs to be made for the termination of the Secretary General?
That's the question I had already. Thank you, Stephen.
Oh,
and
sorry,
there's another one. There's another one.
Apologies, wrong order.
Do we have two questions of this kind?
Sorry, apologies. Will Ifla be 100% liable for any costs relating to the termination of the Secretary General's contract, or will these costs be shared with SIGL?
Yes, I just had it. So the contract is singularly with Ifla, and Ifla is the only entity to be responsible for this. Okay, any other questions and comments to the financial annual report? One?
There's a further one, just I think a further clarification about what are the possibilities to hear from the board member themselves.
About what?
The board member who did not sign off on the.
Well, you can address that board member. We cannot, of course, individually bring that out because all deliberations are confidential on the board, and so we cannot. No. Kirsten therefore did not name the members who either abstained or did not agree.
Okay. Another question regarding the board member who did not approve. Is it correct that key financial information was not shared?
The board voted in a great majority that the key information was sufficient to approve the report, and therefore I let you think what the consequences would be when the board in a majority voted and approved the key this information.
Yeah.
Anything else? Here, I really cannot see. I'm so sorry, I cannot see your faces and I cannot really see you moving. There's none? Okay, thank you very much. So then we conclude this item. And in order to conclude it, we first of all need a mover and a seconder to approve the annual accounts for 2021. So I need a mover. We need a mover. Ingrid, thank you. Who seconds the motion? Klaas? Klaas seconds the motion. Thank you. So the motion presented is moved by Ingrid Bon, and Klaas, Klaas, help me.
I'll let you switch for a while.
Yes, Ravenstein, sorry. Okay, and we will now approve the annual accounts via a formal vote, and please stay with us while the vote takes place. Voting members, please make your vote now, and the motion will appear on your device and you vote for it. Thank you. Voting is closed, I'm told by Stephen. Voting is closed, so we have an approval of the annual accounts by 93.86%, 101 abstention and 54 against. So the annual accounts are approved. Thank you very much for everything, for your voting, and also, of course, for doing the accounts. Now, I think it's a good moment to acknowledge Ifla donors. Kirsten already related to them. Our donors take different forms from their institutions that support our regional offices and language centers, to libraries and institutions who annually provide financial support. There are also individuals who are generously supporting our activities. This year, we are pleased to include further support through organizations such as the European Union and the Arcadia Foundation. So, let's name them. The Koninklijke Bibliotheek, the Netherlands, National Library Board, Singapore, University of South Africa, Pretoria, Biblioteca del Congreso de la Nación, Argentina, Biblioteca Alexandrina, Egypt, National Library of China, Cheikh Anta Diop University in Senegal, Russian State Library, Bibliothèque nationale du Grand-Duché de Luxembourg, Bibliothèque nationale Suisse, Library and Archives Canada, National Diet Library Japan, National Library of Australia, National Library of Finland, National Library Board Singapore, National Library Service of Barbados, Stockholm University Library in Sweden, the Arcadia Fund, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, European Union, Shockey Salem, and Stichting Ifla Global Libraries. Please join me in a round of applause for this great support. Now we come to a point which has already been referred to. That is the formal announcement of the results of the ballot for the election of President-elect and for places on the governing board. The next item on the agenda will be this item. So, Ifla held extraordinary... Oh, Helen, that's yours.
Yes.
It's yours. Please, Helen.
Ifla held extraordinary elections in 2022 for the positions of President-elect and Treasurer, who will serve until the Ifla General Assembly 2023. These extraordinary elections followed the resignation of Ifla's previous President-elect and Treasurer and took place in line with the provisions of Ifla's statutes. The President-elect has an essential leadership role, working with the Ifla President and the Governing Board to provide inspiration and guidance to the Federation as a whole. Nominations were received from 3 candidates: Ertuğrul Çimen from Turkey, Loida Garcia Febo from the United States of America, and Vicky MacDonald from Australia. The results of the extraordinary election for President-elect are that Vicky MacDonald was elected with 706 votes to serve as President-elect until the Ifla General Assembly 2023, and then to serve as President for the term 2023 to 2025. The Treasurer will lead efforts to ensure the financial sustainability of the Federation, strengthening our ability to support the field into the long term. And nominations were received from 3 candidates: Jaap Naber of the Netherlands, Leif Martensen from Sweden, and Randa Alcidiak from Lebanon. And the results of the extraordinary election for Treasurer are that Jaap Naber was elected with 683 votes to serve as Treasurer until the Ifla General Assembly 2023. And as already mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, both are unable to be with us today, due respectively to professional obligations, and for Jaap, he's on a long-planned and well-deserved holiday. So congratulations to both of them.
Well, Vicky and Jaap were introduced to you at the opening ceremony of the VLIC in Dublin, and they have already begun to make a strong contribution to the work of the governing board for Ifla. So now we come to the items in number 11, motions, and we have item number 11.1, motion to approve the holding of the General Assembly in August 2023, referring to Article 1.8 of the statutes. And I ask Helen to introduce this item, please.
So as I do this, I'll give you the background and the rationale. So the background is that the legislation of the Netherlands, as stated in the Dutch Civil Code, Part 2, Sections 48 and 49, requires that the Governing Board must submit an annual report and annual financial statements to the General Assembly within 6 months of the end of the financial year, unless the General Assembly has extended this period. The period may be extended on account of special circumstances for no more than 4 months, and this is reflected in Article 8.2 of the statutes. Now, Ifla's financial year ends on the 31st of December, and generally our General Assembly meets during the Congress, normally in August, which is more than 6 months later. So therefore, the General Assembly must authorise the Governing Board to present the annual report and financial statements at the next Congress. Ifla's lawyers advise that this authorisation has to be given each year a blanket authorisation is not possible. So therefore, the Governing Board calls upon the General Assembly to vote on the following motion regarding the next General Assembly in August 2023. And the motion is that the General Assembly authorises the Governing Board to convene the General Assembly to coincide with the next Ifla World Library and Information Congress, which shall take place in August 2023. And in case of an unavoidable delay, the General Assembly may be convened at a later date, but no later than 31st October 2023.
Thank you, Helen. Was there? No? Okay. Now I call for a mover and a seconder for this motion. Oh, well, Gloria was moving it. Who is seconding it? Oh, well, who? There's a competition. Klaas Grafenstein. Sorry. Yeah. So the motion as presented is moved by Gloria Perez-Salmeron and Klaas Grafenstein seconded. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the motion? Stephen? Not in this room. No? Okay. So then let's go now to approve the motion. We will now have an approval, of course, by formal vote. Please stay with us while the vote takes place, and voting members, please make your vote now. The motion will appear on your device. Stephen is following.
Busy. Not yet.
Now the voting is closed and we can see the results. So we have 99.2% in favor, 0.98 against, and 2 abstentions. So this motion is approved. Thank you very much. Let's come to 11.2, the motion to approve membership fees 2023-2025. And the Deputy Secretary General will read out the motion in full.
The Governing Board calls upon the General Assembly to vote on the following motion regarding membership fees for 2023, 2024 and 2025. The Governing Board proposes that the General Assembly empowers the Governing Board to increase the membership fees in all categories by the percentage of the official retail price inflation, as recorded by the Netherlands government since the time of the last increase. In a year where the average retail price increase is below 1%, the Governing Board may increase the membership fees in all categories up to 2% in order to ensure financial sustainability. The General Assembly will continue to approve the Ifla membership rates for all categories at intervals of no more than 3 years.
Thank you, Helen. And I add that since 2006, the General Assembly has agreed the annual membership fees of Ifla every 3 years. In 2022, the General Assembly is now asked again to approve a motion for the years 2023, 2024, and 2025. In 2016, the General Assembly agreed to a formula, that is a standard method, for increasing membership fees. This was based on the retail price information rate in the Netherlands, where Ifla is based, and so where it incurs most costs. It is proposed to use the same process for the next 3 years, using the same formula to decide new membership fees. This would mean that for 2023, 2024, and 2025, members are asked to raise membership fees by the same percentage as the increase in retail price inflation recorded by the Netherlands government in the past 12 months. This applies unless the increase is less than 1%. In years when retail price inflation is less than 1%, the Governing Board can recommend an increase of up to 2%. This is to ensure Ifla can continue to be adequately funded. Members are asked to delegate the setting of membership fees for 2023, 2024, and 2025 to the Governing Board using the same formula. The Governing Board is asked each year in August to set the fees for the following year and can choose to amend the recommended increase within the parameters set by the members. The average of the inflation rate in the Netherlands for July 2021 to June 2022 was 5.8%. Are there any questions that members have before we vote on that motion? In the chat?
Yep. So one is that what have the Governing Board done to reduce costs and avoid higher membership fees?
The Governing Board is always looking at the best outcome, financial outcome, and we have seen that the surplus was much better than before, and we always look at this. I look at, of course, Kirsten as the treasurer. Perhaps, Kirsten, you can add to that.
Not much. We are very economically concerned, of course, and it's always hard to ask to have an increase of the membership fee, but it's necessary as we can see how the world is going on right now. So, and of course we have to make priorities when we make the budget, and we always do.
Thank you. Another one?
It's more of a comment, I suspect, but noting that inflation is bound to rise in the Netherlands beyond 2%.
Could you repeat that?
Well, it's a comment suggesting that inflation is bound to rise in the Netherlands beyond 2%, but I think you said that the inflation rate was 5.8.
5.8.
So it is rising.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I think the Dutch colleagues who are here.
Yeah. It hurts, yes.
It hurts.
For sure, in many countries.
I think it would be good because Jaap sent me a statement, because he's not here, just to comment on that motion. And if you agree, I would like to read out that statement. As an international federation, Ifla is very aware of how the current cost increases and economic situation is affecting people and organizations across the globe. No one is immune. However, Ifla as an organization must also ensure that it acts in a financially responsible manner for its members regarding its ongoing operations. It is important that the Governing Board examines Ifla's operational cost structure in detail. That is also a response to the question which we just had. By nature of the cost, such as to determine what level of CPI, that's the Consumer Price Index, fits the situation best. When considering increases, Ifla will also take into account the status of countries based on the UNESCO Statement of Assessment. With your authority, the members' authority, The Governing Board will act fairly and within the parameters noted in the motion in setting membership fees over the coming 3 years. That was the statement of the Treasurer, Jaap Naber. Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
So we have one question. If the proposed increase is very high, does the board have the ability to set a smaller increase?
The board decides about the increase in within these parameters and takes into account, as the statement of the Treasurer just signaled, many, many factors. And I think the decision will be taken in December, in the board meeting of December. Yeah. Any other comments or questions?
There's a request for clarification. So is this a 6% increase this year, and could that be the same or more again next year and the year after? Is there a cap built in?
Well, we have the scheme. The scheme or the formula means we are, well, our reference point is the inflation rate in the Netherlands. That's the reference point. And judging from that reference point and combined, of course, with Ifla needs and the sustainability for Ifla, the Governing Board would decide.
There's a comment, many institutions are experiencing financial problems. Cutting costs in members' budgets can result in an outflow of members if costs continue to rise. This may be counterproductive.
That's always a risk. And I remember, or I remind all of us, and myself as well, that last year there was no increase in the membership fees, with the pandemic as a very bad situation in that time. And I know from my work in the German library associations, because I think many of you are in the library associations active, that if you start not following the increase of the prices in the countries, this will result at some time in a very high increase of the membership fees. So it is better to have that formula and to work on it year by year and take into account everything which is necessary.
There's a similar further comment. It is difficult for members from less developed areas to support this motion.
Of course, I understand the support. The support is. It is, of course, a responsibility for the own association, but it is also a responsibility for Ifla to work or to think about this motion and how to react to that motion. It's a, well, twofold responsibility, and maybe to set priorities. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else?
There's also a comment for the benefit of those who are not on the system, saying that it's difficult to support a motion to increase membership fees when the financial reports were unclear and questions relating to finances were not addressed under financials.
Well, I want to add that the financial report will be on the 35 pages. Financial report will be on the website, and everyone who wants to read and follow this can have the. You have got an abstract of it and a concise version. And Kirsten wanted to say something.
To give a supplement, and as Jaap Naber told us, all of us in Dublin, he will, I think, every 3 or 4 times a year, he will just tell us about the finances in the webpage so we can follow it. And of course, he will be open for any questions and discussion about it. So you can follow how we are working during the year. Yes.
Thank you, Kirsten. Anything else?
Not on this.
Not on this, not on the floor, not from the floor. Thank you very much. So we finalized the discussion. I now need a mover and a seconder for this motion. So
I move it.
Kirsten moves it, and Klaas again seconds it. Thank you very much. So the motion as presented is moved by Kirsten Bölt and seconded by Klaas Grafestein. And now we will move to approve the motion via formal vote. please stay with us while the vote takes place. And voting members, please make your vote now, and the motion will be appearing on your device.
It's interesting. Can they both vote? Yeah. We'll see.
It's done now. It came in later, after the voting. Okay, the voting has closed. So now we see that 69.81% approved the motion, 30% 1.9 against, and 159 abstentions. So the motion is approved. Thank you very much. Now let's come to motion 11.3. That's a motion on the common basis of values for Ifla. This motion was submitted by Karin Linde, Swedish Library Association, Ann-Berit Hultin, Norwegian Library Association, and Michel Steen Hansen, Danish Library Association. The motion reads, we propose to the governing board to strengthen our federation by formulating a common basis of values as transparency, accountability, and integrity, including a mechanism for whistleblowers, adequate communication, and how to respond to war and conflict. And I'm happy that Karin and Helene Oberg are here from Sweden, and now I invite them to present the rationale for this motion. Helene, you will do it?
Yes, I will do it.
So please come here, because I think you should be seen on the screen.
Okay, okay. Exciting.
You're not on the screen, are you?
No, close to Barbara.
Yes, no, she's there. She's there.
You're there?
No,
Oh, yes, you're there. Okay, you're there. Sorry.
The camera is moving.
Please.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. President. Mrs. President, Governing Board, fellow participants in the General Assembly of Ifla 2022. Libraries are a resource that provides everyone with free access to information, knowledge, and culture, and that through their activities inspire users to partake of these things. Thus, people are given the opportunity to use their democratic right to develop, think, speak, and write freely. As stated in Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. Ifla has, together with national library associations, drawn up manifestos for clarifying that principles and the basic values upon which the activities of libraries are based. Several of the manifestos are recommended by UNESCO. Therefore, it's essential for Ifla to live by these standards with its own governance. I'm here to speak to the motion, a common basis of values for Ifla. The motion was discussed and decided upon in the Swedish Library Association in February this year. The other Nordic countries agreed to support the motion during the spring, and I'm here to speak for all of the Nordic countries. It's been a turbulent year within the Ifla since then, and Ifla are as an organization facing serious challenges to regain trust and good governance. The internal difficulties within the organization are of such a dimension that it overshadows the original purpose of the motion: how to respond to war and conflict in terms of our values. Today, it's obvious that Ifla can't respond to war and conflict because of lack of unity of values and because of lack of sufficient communication within the organization. However, it's a good beginning with the transparency during the open session during VLIC. Good, thank you for that. But more has to be done. So, to the motion, I would like to add an extra amendment. That is that the governing board in 2 or 3 weeks from now presents a timetable for a more communication and transparent Ifla. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helene. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the motion? Is there?
No questions yet, but let's give it a minute because.
Yeah, well, I will comment to the amendment. I didn't see the amendments right now, and of course, the governing board is an entity which needs to have their discussion. The next governing board meeting will be at the end of September. It will be a 2-hour online meeting, and I think the issue is too important to put that into a 2-hour meeting. So the amendment will be very difficult to really do an appropriate reaction to this amendment. We would like to, and you will hear in my address later on something on that, but the amendment is, well, I would say, Kirsten, she's also on the governing board.
Yeah, I think it's quite impossible for us to gather the members of the governing board, even online, 2 to 3 weeks. It's far too short. So it's hard for us to commit us to that time frame.
The governing board is really, well, knowing the motion, of course, the governing board, if the motion is approved, is committed to do it, but it's impossible to give an appropriate and really reasonable response to it. You will see something, we have touched this item in the response to the members' letter, but 2 to 3 weeks is impossible. Yeah. We have 2 hours when we meet because we have a time frame from Australia to Mexico. That's a time difference of, I think, 15 hours. So we have really 2 hours time slot for discussion. And there is many items already on the agenda, and this would not be paying for this importance. This would not be adequate for the importance.
But one could always, as support for the presenter of the motion, isn't it possible to have a second meeting from the governing board for 2-hour time slot to discuss this topic? Quite simple, I think.
Well, I can assure you that we are very, very reasonable and very earnest and very serious in establishing our time frame. You see, for many countries, there's different interests, there's different association, there's different workload to be done, and so that is really a point which we have already. We had difficulties to find some time in September. We have found it. It is 27th, I think, yes. September, yes. 27th of September. And we will have more time when we meet in The Hague, all in one spot, not looking for, see, we have people who are almost in bed, and we have people who are just getting up.
I know.
Yes, so, and I think it is worthwhile to have this topic discussed in a surrounding where it is appropriate, where we discuss this important matter, and not in a very hurry-up issue.
Stupid question. I'm not sure I'm familiar with the procedures, because this is a kind of communication between members and governing board, isn't it? So I would expect the governing board to be able to say, okay, an amendment is okay. Otherwise, how can we is it possible to add amendments at all then if we can't do it? I mean, is it because of like technical difficulties, or is it because the question is
Well,
not
the motion is
important enough? Or
no, it's not. Well, we have the motion without the amendment, and we could not react to the amendment. We could not have a talk with the governing board people. May I ask our notary with the amendment?
Well, it's possible to add it if more than half of the people present or represented are in favor of this amendment. To put it to a vote.
Okay.
But it should be feasible, I guess.
so it would be possible to open the floor to vote for the amendment, right?
That would be possible, according to the article.
Thank
yes.
you.
I can just tell you that the amendment is really, it will not bring the effect that you might intend, and that the governing board might intend as well, because you will see that we have already, in the response to the letter, we have already reacted to some of the issues, and we are going to react on this. We have a plan on this, but 3 and 4 weeks is. I don't see a realistic chance to appropriately react to this amendment.
So there were a few comments coming
Oh
in.
yes, let's have something,
On
and then first from the floor,
Just
and
a
then
small remark. There's a difference between 3 and 4 weeks is not possible. That's September. December is still 3 months further away, so there might be something in between to satisfy everybody.
yeah,
Yeah.
that could be done, but not in. Yeah, if that is possible. Then now some remarks from the.
So a number of comments coming in. There's one asking for the motion to be amended to include that members who raise concerns are not to be excluded from contributing to solutions because they have raised concerns, aligned with fair and good democratic practice, that any members who are subject to scrutiny, irrespective of role in Ifla, cannot
Could you speak slowly?
So, aligned with fair and good democratic practice, any members who are subject to scrutiny, irrespective of their role in Ifla, should not be able to censure, silence, or exclude fair representation of members. So, I think summarising, that's a request that everyone who would like to be involved should be involved,
Sure.
regardless of whether they are making comments, whether they've made comments in the past. There is a suggestion as a compromise: can the GB commit to creating a task force on the topic to present a plan by the end of the year? And there is one member who has raised whether we need an extraordinary General Assembly on this topic.
Okay, so I think we have the possibility of a compromise, so work in between end of September and December, and everything which will be presented and prepared by the governing board will be, of course, open for comments and for reactions by the members.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Mhm.
And then these comments will be taken into account by the governing board. That's for sure. I couldn't see Helena. Did you? Yes.
I raised my hand to say we can support that compromise.
The compromise
Yes,
by
we can
by Ingrid.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. So now the motion would be.
What is the amended motion then?
Before December, yes. A timetable before December.
Okay.
Okay, good.
There's a further couple of comments on similar points coming in. I'm just going to get down to it. There have been quite a few. Since Ifla is a federation of library associations, it seems very challenging for it to establish a singular position on responding to specific conflicts. Would it not be more appropriate to ask one of the sections to develop a policy on response to library communities who find themselves involved in national conflict? This does not seem like a matter for the governing board unilaterally, and there's another member who has backed up that comment.
So this is a specific question to the last part of your motion with the conflict and war approach, and something like that happened already, because the statement by the governing board on the Ukraine war was also supported by the FAIF group. So we asked FAIF and also the Advisory Committee for Cultural Heritage to support the governing board by framing and by phrasing this declaration. So this is more or less what I understand was the suggestion to do. Just to know. And of course, when we have to decide on the governing board on something which is not really professional or which is related to politics or to other issues which are not really inside the federation, and we have advisory groups or people who can advise us, we of course ask all the time, we ask them. So looking at our time frame, I am now...
We would need to just now announce exactly what the revised motion is, because people can't see it, and we can't amend the motion in the system now. So would you mind, we'll give you the microphone, and if you could then... We now ask Helena to read out clearly and slowly the revised motion.
That the government board, before December this year, presents a timetable for a more communicating and transparent Ifla.
Good, thank you. Yeah, that's good. Thank you very much. Thank you for your understanding, and I can assure you that we very much appreciate this understanding, and we will follow your suggestions and your recommendations. So then we close the discussion, and we will now move this motion. This motion is moved by you, and we need a seconder, and Ingrid Bonn is the seconder. So there will be a formal vote. Please stay with us while the vote takes place.
Just to confirm, regardless of what you see on the screens on your voting thing, we are voting on the motion as stated here.
Yeah.
For the minute.
Yes, that's important.
The voting system was pre-programmed with the motions as they were.
Okay. So now please stay with us while the voting takes place. And voting members, please make your vote now, and the motion will appear on your device. So the voting is closed, and we can see the results. So 94.77% is for the motion, and 5.23 is against, 69 abstentions. So the motion is approved. Thank you very much. Now we have not much time left, but still I would like, of course, to come to agenda item number 12, which gives me the opportunity to expand on the issues that members have raised and give you more information on the governing board's response and plans. In this context, I would like to address concerns raised by members and volunteers in an open letter to the Governing Board dated 18 July 2021. These concerns were also discussed on 28 July at the Out in the Open session, Helene just referred to it, at the World Library and Information Congress in Dublin. And this was recorded and is available on the Ifla YouTube channel. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge and thank members and volunteers for raising their concerns, giving their voice directly to the Governing Board. The Governing Board is always keen to hear from Ifla members, volunteers and affiliates. Like many of you, we are also volunteers on the Governing Board who are committed to ensuring that Ifla is a strong federation representing the global library and information sector. Today, I will share with you the Governing Board's response to the key concerns that have been raised. Further details will be shared via the Ifla website in the coming days, and it will be updated regularly. In summary, the letter of the 18 July 2022 and the discussion in Dublin raised concerns in relation to issues at Ifla HQ and the decisions and actions taken by the Governing Board in 2022. The specific concerns related to the circumstances related to the decisions around the Secretary General's contract, the relationship between Ifla and the Stichting Ifla Global Libraries, SIGL, the working arrangement and culture at Ifla headquarters, financial arrangement and Ifla financial sustainability. To address these issues raised by members, as well as to further strengthen Ifla on the basis of priorities identified by the Governing Board itself, a comprehensive plan has been developed by the Governing Board, and the response and plan articulate key activities that have been implemented and will be undertaken, who will be responsible for ensuring the activities to be progressed, milestones and timeframes for these activities, and the reporting arrangements. Today, I will provide an outline of the key activities to be undertaken to address concerns. I will now walk through with you the key work that has been done already and what activities will be progressed. Additional details will be provided on the Ifla website as a living document. The Ifla strategy, so let's start with the Ifla strategy. The Ifla strategy plan 2020-19-2024 sets out a bold program of work. The Governing Board regularly receives reports on all 16 key initiatives at their meetings. At the April meeting 2023, the Governing Board will get a comprehensive review of the progress against key initiatives and since the launch of the Ifla strategy in 2019. The proposed approach for the Ifla strategy 2025-2029 will be discussed at the December 22 meeting. It is important that we commence our planning so that we can involve members and volunteers as we did already in the development of the strategic plan 2019 to 2024. Now the next item is Ifla HQ Work Environments. In an extraordinary Governing Board meeting on 4 March 2022, the Governing Board decided to terminate the contract with the Secretary General due to irreconcilable differences between the Governing Board and the Secretary General. This decision was made following 2 independent reviews undertaken in December 2021 and in January 2022. These independent reviews did not support allegations of bullying, harassment, or fraud. The findings did identify problems in management style. The Secretary General has disputed the dismissal and a court hearing is scheduled for the beginning of October. Following the decision about the dismissal of the Secretary General, the Governing Board immediately put in place interim leadership arrangement. Governing Board member and MLAS representative Harlo Locher agreed to take on the additional contract role of Governing Board delegate from 1st April 2022. Harlo's service contract concludes on 31st August 2022. From 1st September 2022, the Deputy Secretary General, Helen Mandel, will assume the role of Acting Secretary General. The Governing Board will ensure that Helen is she will be also supporting in her acting role. I would like to acknowledge and thank both Helen and Harlo for stepping up to these roles. One of Harlo Locher's key responsibilities was to improve the HQ at Ifla Work Environments. Regular staff meetings have been implemented and more regular meetings with the Employees Representative Body, ERB, have been established. A new organization structure is being trialed. I acknowledge these are initial steps in improving Ifla HQ work environment. There will be ongoing work to ensure an effective and safe working environment is fostered and maintained. The recruitment of a new Secretary General can only commence once the legal proceedings with the outgoing Secretary General have been resolved. The Governing Board has appointed a search committee to oversee the recruitment process. A recruitment agency will be engaged to support the recruitment for this pivotal role. Ifla staff will be kept informed of the recruitment process through regular updates. Next item is relationship between Ifla and SIGL. I would now like to address the relationship between Ifla and SIGL, Stichting Ifla Global Libraries. Stichting Ifla Global Libraries is an independent public benefit foundation which was established in 2016 to support the work of Ifla as a legacy partner of the Global Libraries Initiative of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The objective of the foundation, which is exclusively charitable and educational, is to strengthen the library field and to empower libraries to improve people's lives and support growth of sustainable societies. Under Dutch law, a stichting is a legal entity and translates to foundation in English. Ifla, together with the Public Library Association of the American Library Association and TASHA, the Technology and Social Change Group at the University of Washington Information School, were named as the 3 legacy partners of global libraries. Since 2016, SIGL has provided funding to Ifla for a range of projects that support the objectives to strengthen the library field and empower libraries to improve people's lives and support the growth of sustainable societies. Some of these projects are, you know them, I think, Global Vision, IAP, the International Advocacy Program on Sustainable Development Goals, and the Library Map of the World. We have heard about it. The implementation of the Ifla Strategy through regional workshops, the Development and Access of Information DA21 project, work with young and emerging leaders and projects on community engagement, impact measurement and storytelling for advocacy. All these were projects funded by the money from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and SIGL. Additionally, under a special legal agreement between Ifla and SIGL, SIGL contributes funds to the salaries of Ifla staff to enable specific projects to be implemented and a 67% contribution to all Ifla's office costs. Going forward, Ifla's funding requests to SIGL will be primarily project-based. The projects will align to Ifla Strategy plan and to the SIGL objectives. The Ifla Governing Board will regularly meet with the SIGL Board to discuss the future funding arrangements. A first meeting took place in Dublin, and the next meeting will be in December 22 in The Hague. The Ifla Governing Board will propose the projects it wishes to progress and what funding is being sought from SIGL. The SIGL Board has underlined that it is committed to supporting the work of Ifla. Now the next point, that's Ifla's governance. The Ifla Statutes and Rules of Procedure are the documents which establish how Ifla is structured and how decisions are taken. A comprehensive review was undertaken of the statutes and rules of procedure in 2019-2021. There was extensive consultation with professional units, stakeholders, and legal advisors. The revised statutes and rules of procedures were approved by an extraordinary General Assembly in February 2021 to be effective from August 21. To support the practical work of the statutes and rules of procedures, a handbook providing an easy guide to Ifla's structures and processes needs to be finalized and approved as a priority. The Governing Board proposes a working group to be formed to progress this important work for the handbook. The Governing Board will seek representatives from the Professional Council, Regional Council, and the Ifla Management of Library Association Standing Committee to work with Ifla staff and a Governing Board representative. This work will begin immediately to ensure that the handbook is ready for implementation for the 2023 election process. The aim is to approve the handbook at the December GB meeting. The Ifla Code of Ethics for the members of the Governing Board and officers that is always presented to the new Governing Board members to be signed and to be complied to, needs to be reviewed to ensure consistency with the statutes and rules of procedures. This review will be led by the President-elect. Representatives from the Ifla Governing Board, Ifla Management of Library Association Standing Committee, and an honorary Ifla Fellow will be invited to join the working group to review the Code of Ethics. We will seek to have the revised Ifla Code of Ethics approved at the Governing Board's February 2023 meeting. Ifla's administrative policies ensure good governance and inform and provide guidance to staff in doing their work. An audit of policies will be undertaken by December 2022. A gap analysis and schedule for policy review and development will be considered at the December 2022 Governing Board meeting. Updates on this work will be considered at each Finance and Risk Committee meeting. With Ifla moving to a project-based funding approach with SIGL, it will be important to have strong project management in place. The Acting Secretary General will work with the Treasurer to implement a project management framework by April 2023. Next item is Ifla's financial arrangements and sustainability. Like Ifla members, the Governing Board is committed to strong financial accountability and ensuring the sustainability of Ifla long term. In accordance with best practice, a new auditor was appointed in June 2022 to review Ifla's financial accounts. As an incoming auditor, they will undertake a full review of finances, governance, human resources, and information technology policies and practices. A key task will be to confirm compliance with applicable laws, accounting standards, policies and procedures by reviewing these against observed practice. The audit process includes the interim audit in October 2022, and the annual audit process is scheduled for April to June 2023. The auditors will make observations regarding risk and recommend improvement measures. Their report with recommendations will be presented to the Finance and Risk Committee and to the Governing Board. The external auditor will also undertake an internal audit process. This audit process is a risk mitigation strategy that provides assurance that frameworks, policies, practices, and processes are effective. The audit will also review internal controls. Quarterly reports on progress against recommendations will be provided to the Finance and Risk Committee and to the Governing Board. Ifla's risk policy was reviewed in 2021, and it will be reviewed by the Finance and Risk Committee in December 2022. A revised risk register will be discussed at the February 2022 Finance and Risk Committee meeting and approved at the April 23 Governing Board meeting. Next one is World Library and Information Congress and General Assembly. There are several other key matters that require the Governing Board's attention. Prior to COVID-19, the General Assembly was scheduled to coincide with the annual Congress. We know that, we remember that. In 2022, due to COVID-19 restrictions, the General Assembly was held as a virtual event based on an exception in a COVID-related ruling by the Dutch government. In 2021, based on the new statutes that allowed online participation and online voting at the General Assembly was held as a hybrid event, like now. There was the option for attendance, but this was limited to those members who could travel and for whom it was feasible to do so. In 2022, now, the General Assembly is being held again as a hybrid event. This decision was taken in November 2021, and it was based on the reduced Congress program of 3 days, which did not offer time for scheduling of the General Assembly in Dublin. The Acting Secretary General will be asked to prepare an options paper on the format of the 2023 General Assembly for the Governing Board's consideration at its December meeting. This will enable a decision for a format of the 2023 General Assembly. There have also been suggestions from members that the format of the World Library and Information Congress needs to be reconsidered. In recent years, I look at you, Karen. In recent years, the format of the VLIC has been adjusted to COVID-19 restrictions. 21, virtual conference, 22, 3-day program on-site, 23, 4-day program, hybrid, that is virtual and online delivery. The expressions for interest of the 2024 Congress as a hybrid conference closes on the 12th September of this year. It has been suggested that a biannual and triannual conference may be appropriate to reduce resourcing, address financial risk and carbon footprint, etc. The board will discuss options for the future years at its April 23 Governing Board meeting with all the experience that have been made by now. Communication. I now move to the point of communication. The Governing Board accepts that it needs to improve its communication with members, affiliates, and volunteers. I hope what I have already shared with you today indicates that we are listening to our members. I received a lot of feedback, positive feedback, on the format of the Out in the Open session at the Dublin Congress. Members and volunteers valued the opportunity to meet with members of the Governing Board and ask questions on a range of topics. I agree, this is a good format. A similar session will be scheduled at the VLIC 2023 in Rotterdam, that's for sure. From today's update, you can see that the Governing Board and Ifla staff will be progressing many significant initiatives over the next 12 months. I personally make a commitment to you today, and also a commitment on behalf of the Governing Board, that we will provide regular updates on the progress of these initiatives. We will also provide updates on the key decisions and discussions following each governing board meeting. As I said earlier, details of what I have outlined today will be posted on the Ifla website shortly. You will be able to see what the governing board has already done and what we have planned. As a living document, this will be updated regularly. Looking forward, there is much work to be done, even more work than before. But I am confident that it will be done well because we have a plan, and we have a good plan. Now, we unfortunately do not have much time, because our time is over. We had good discussions already, but I really would be happy to hear some feedback right now. This should and would not only be the only feedback, of course, because I invite you, the members, volunteers, and affiliates, to stay in contact with me and the members of the governing board in the future, and to be part of an exchange to continue our conversation. Thank you very much. So first from the floor. No comments, no feedback from the floor. Stephen, what do you have?
I've got a lot.
How much time? First of all, let's have a look. It's now 35. We take 5 minutes.
Okay. We've got quite a lot of questions from one particular member whose questions have already been asked a few times. So I'm just going to go through the ones who haven't asked so many questions first. So firstly, handbook is one thing, but organisational culture is something else.
Sure.
How is the GB working on an improved culture where all voices are heard and discussions can be open and transparent?
As I said, we are working on this. We have some good basis on this, and we are improving what is a deficit.
Okay, another question from a different person, a different member, is it ensured that the recruitment committee for the new Secretary-General is independent from SIGIL, especially that no SIGIL board member is involved in order to guarantee the independence of SIGIL?
Well, as I said, this is a governing board search committee, and the governing board search committee consists of governing board members.
Okay. Right, I'm just going to go through, there's quite a lot of questions. There's a question about, can we have clarity on the independent review that the signatories of the letter called for?
What? Could you repeat it?
There was a call for an independent, so this is a question that was sent. So the letter sent by members and volunteers called for an independent review. And there's been a similar question about, is this being done in a way that doesn't involve governing board members? Can we have clarity on the response to that?
As I just let you know, there is the new auditor who is really an independent unity and an independent third party who will do all these reviews which I just enumerated in my speech.
There are a couple of questions looking backwards at what has happened pre-2022 and the conduct of, looking back at what has happened in the past, what has happened before 2022, how will those be covered in the steps in the plan going forwards?
Well, we will have a look of problems which might be established in former times and have endurance and continue being a problem in these years.
There are a couple of positive ones. So one saying thank you so much, let Ifla continue building resilient systems, and one for a precise and exhaustive GB response. There's a question which I think you've covered, but it's worth repeating. How will the governing board check in to see if the concerns raised in the letter are fully addressed, and what does that look like exactly?
As I said, that will be the document you will find on the website. It's a spreadsheet, actually, touching the points which are, and I tried to touch, of course, in my speech, the points as well, but this was just a phrasing, and you will see in a spreadsheet you see the items, you see the person who is responsible to work on it, and you see a time frame, and you see comments about having been done. And this spreadsheet was worked out by a task force in the governing board, but it was approved by the governing board. And you will see that spreadsheet, because it's a living document. Of course, when we have done something, hopefully, we will say, well, that's done. And maybe there's new things coming up, and we will try to involve these new things in that document as well, to integrate them. So that, and you will see that on the website. So what I just was telling you in a speech, you will see in a spreadsheet.
I think another point, then go on to that one. A couple of questions came up around the discussion on the account, and just to what extent will governing board's engagement and reporting going forwards include the financial impacts?
Oh yes, why did the previous...
That's a separate question.
Okay.
So we had a few questions during the section on the accounts, talking about the financial impacts of termination process and the other processes that are going on. Will these be reported to the members? I think we've covered that when talking about quarterly reports.
Yes, we talked about quarterly report. I don't know whether Kirsten, with her experience as temporary treasurer, will add to that.
I have not much to add, but I'm very confident when I talk to Jaap and his way of conducting the position of being a treasurer. So I'm sure he will be very, very clear in what he will communicate on the webpage. That's all I can say.
Shall I do that as well?
Yeah, so there's another couple of nice ones saying thanks for the hard work, and we believe that the measures to resolve the issues are on the right path, and so other thank yous.
And there is another one, why did the previous president-elect and treasurer resign? That is on the website, isn't it? The resignation statements are on the website. You can see them on the website. Anything else?
Unless you want to go for that.
Anything else?
There's no live questions, and just to say, I think we've put this in the chat as well. All of the questions and comments that have been shared through the platform will be recorded and will be shared back with the governing board in order to inform future discussions.
Yes,
so that they're not being lost at all.
Of course, that's for sure. So we had more than 5 minutes now, but I think it's good that we have the possibility to add on some time for this. I don't see any comments on the floor here. So now I finalize the item of the address of the President, number 12. And now it's time to come to close the Assembly. I thank you for your engagement and for being a part of Ifla's first General Assembly held in this really hybrid manner. To those who took the time to attend in person or to participate in real time wherever you are in the world, and I can imagine it's not really easy for many of you to be there online in the world, I applaud you, really, I do applaud you. And I would like to thank Ifla's notary, Martijn van Ansem, for being with us, and also Jan Willem van Wessel from the National Library of the Netherlands for hosting this event. I want to stress our appreciation to the National Library for their continued support and willingness this year to act as the proxies of many members who were unable to be with us in real time. Thank you very much, Jan Willem. The meeting arrangements are the result of a team effort from our HQ staff, and I want to thank them for all they have done to make this new process come into function. And I would like to have a hand from you as well for the HQ staff and also for Lumi, this one, and of course for the National Library. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to see you at all. But now formally I have to say, I'm looking forward to the next General Assembly in August 23 in the neighbor city to The Hague of Rotterdam in the Netherlands again. And now I formally declare this meeting closed. Thank you very much.